namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for having me. I've come a long way, thousands of miles, to see you. I travel around the United States and Canada sharing these gatherings, these talks. But primarily it's the energy that I'm sharing. I call it the mystical path. Mystical path. It's the sharing of spiritual transmission. This has been done on Earth for thousands of years. Usually it's the guru, who is a being of light, a sage, saint, who's pure, absolutely pure. And they share their teachings, their transmission with the disciples. The disciples just bask in the energy and light. And sooner or later, they too become a guru. It rubs off on them. Somehow, the guru's consciousness rubs off on those people who connect to him or her. That's a mystical transmission. And then those disciples also embody the light. And then they share it with the next generation. That's called a lineage. On and on and on. That's why we lit a candle for my teacher, Swami Purna, who is an extraordinary being, hails from the high Himalayas, a great yogi, wandered for decades naked through the high Himalayas, negative 20, 30 degrees. His body was impervious to cold and heat. And also sort of that infinite awareness. So anyone who's in front of him, he sees all their karma, all their past, all their future. Everything is just, each person's an open book with such a being. Do you know why? Because the guru is you. See, normal humans, we think we're here in a body, whereas the true guru knows him or herself to be everywhere, infinite, that one infinite light. And therefore, you are me, I am you. There is only one. And therefore, there is knowledge of all that is. So, I met him in 2008 at a spiritual retreat. I was stunned by the beauty of the energy in that retreat. It's in New York City. I cried. It was so beautiful. The love was immense. Never experienced anything like that. So what did I do? I followed his guidance. You know what one of his primary sort of spiritual tools that he introduced was? It's mantra. What we just chanted. Does anyone remember the mantra we just chanted? Hari? Oh, nicely done. Yes. Hari Bol. Gold. Those mantras are gold. When you receive the mantra from the guru, it's a piece of that guru. It's a piece of light. Then you say it and you invoke that light, that same light within you. It's a very easy way to follow the spiritual path, in my opinion. You just keep chanting all day long. Keep attuning to the energy. It's kind of like calling God to you all the time. God, please come to me. God, please come to me. God, please help me. Constantly, all day. Bit by bit, your consciousness gets transformed. So in 2012, I had a darshan with him, a meeting, a holy meeting, and it was only 3 minutes long. And finally, he gave me some real guidance. said, Brian, it's time for you to renounce everything, set out on the road, and share these spiritual gatherings with others. Share the energy with others. I said, oh, okay. That's a great idea. It was totally unexpected. I was running a financial planning firm at the time. Very, very comfortable life. Very, achieved the American dream. I could have lived like that, skated by life so easy. I went home, I had a little garage sale in my apartment, gave away all my business clothes, sold the business, sold my car, bought a van, put a bed in the van, and set out into the sunset. And just started traveling from city to city. I didn't know anyone. Somewhat of a hermit before. Now I actually have to talk to people? Uh-oh. And you know who has been the most supportive? And I was telling Reverend Ron this. Unity churches. The most supportive. You know why? They're open to radical thinking.
Amen.
I love that. I love that. Those people who are the most open-minded, willing to look into anything, And so I just started visiting different cities. And at first, I had a hard time asking for help. So, because I don't have a home. What do you do? So I was sleeping in truck stops, campgrounds. I mean, it was pretty rugged. After all, I said, I should probably start asking if people could help me to house me. So I did. And lo and behold, there were some people who were very kind who opened their doors to me. They didn't know me, they had never met me before, and they welcomed me into my home. A good example, Reverend Ron. Very kind. That means a lot. Generosity. There was a time, it was an age on earth, a golden age, where most people were enlightened, where I could have just walked across this land and knocked on anyone's door and said, could you help me? I'm hungry and I need a place to stay. And they would simply welcome me into their home and say, we're honored that you're here. We would love to help you. So, the gatherings that I hold are called satsang. You're familiar with the term? Satsang. Some people are. Sat in Sanskrit means truth. Sang means gathering, like sangha. This would be like a sangha, the church, when the church group comes together and we all kind of bond and connect, and we're all sort of seeking the same thing. We're all searching for God. Really, that's a sangha. Like-minded people who are searching for the divine, who are helping each other to find that. So, in the context of satsang, the point is to create a kind of like a bubble of presence, energy in the room, so you can feel something deep, and it sends you into meditation. That's the idea, that transmission. You catch on to it, then you go home, go to your family, and share it with your family. And the transmission gets passed on. Now, one may ask, well, what happens in this transmission? What is this energy? Well, the transmission awakens so many beautiful qualities within your being: love, joy, peace, sweetness, kindness, care, generosity. All the virtues unfold out of that energy. You just sort of meditate on it and let it percolate through your system, and it arises naturally. You don't have to wake up today and go, I'm going to try to become loving. I'm going to try to be and do this nice thing to this person. You just are that. You're radiating that energy. You don't even have to do a thing, actually. And you're radiating that love. And of course, then all your actions and your thoughts are aligned with the love principle. which I mentioned at the beginning, premam, the Sanskrit word for love. Premam, not just normal human love. If you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's normal human love. It's kind of like a business deal. You're nice to me, I'll be nice to you. If you're mean to me, my heart's going to shut down to you. That's how we humans work. This divine love never shuts down. Your heart center is so open, it encompasses the entire universe. It encompasses, all the politicians, the dictators, the people who are attacking you and insulting you, and everyone, all the animals, all the plants, everyone is held in your heart. That is true divine love. Unstoppable. And, in regards to forgiveness, there's nothing to forgive. You don't even need to so-called try to forgive someone. You are love itself, the embodiment of that. That's prema. Every cell of your body is sparkling with love. I said, I like this path. I want to keep cultivating that. So every day, people witness my practices, continuing to invoke that energy. So any free time that I might have, like when we were waiting before this whole thing started, I was sitting up here and invoking the energy, and I could just feel it getting bigger and bigger. Simple mantra to awaken love. Just, 10 minutes, but that 10 minutes, I could have been like scrolling through Facebook or talking about the weather or something like that. I want to keep my mind focused on what's most important, which is finding divinity. One could say that that's really what a monk is. Someone whose whole life is dedicated to finding God. Everything has been consecrated to that. Every action, every word, every thought. In a way, it's a kind of obsession. I love this word in Sanskrit. Mumukshu means sincerity. A person who genuinely wants to know the truth. Who am I? Where did I come from? What is my source? What is the source of all existence? That's a kind of contemplation. So sometimes monks and others, will contemplate. What is the nature of this reality? Who am I? Where did I come from? Contemplation, contemplative. That's very helpful in attuning to divinity. And interesting, I'll share with you a type of contemplation that a mystic might do. So in India, the most profound texts of spirituality are called the Vedas. Veda means knowledge. And so these Vedas, like 4 tomes, huge books, right? I read them like the first few pages, I'm already overwhelmed, I can't take it. It's a lot. So after 4 tomes of spiritual contemplation and mantras and talking about deities and so on and so forth, at the very end, there are these last words. These are the very last words. Neti, neti. Not this, not this. Sorry, none of this is right. We worked so hard to produce this compendium. Nope, not it. And I love that, Religion, spirituality cannot be put into a box. It cannot be explained by words. So neti, now that you've learned all this knowledge and you've read thousands of books on spirituality, you can just empty yourself of all of it and say, I know nothing. I don't even know who I am. And so my intention, God, please let me lay all of my identities, all my knowledge, all of my information, my intellect, my mind at your feet. And you let it go. You let that burden go. And when you're stripped of all identities, something gets revealed in that space of not knowing, kind of like being a child. Child doesn't know much. That's when the so-called Holy Spirit arises within you and takes over your life. You no longer have to work hard to get by in life. You're being run by something else. A spiritual power that has taken over instead of what you would call the ego that has hijacked you. This kind of made-up identity that has hijacked you, hijacked your true self with a capital S. So that's the path of the contemplative. And then for those people who are really busy, there's a path for you. Do you want to know it? They call it, at least in yogic terms, the karma yoga path. Karma yoga. That's the path of service. And it's not helping others, because normally we think of like karma doing service, and so I'm helping others. I got to help you. I got to do stuff for you. You're not helping others. There are no others. I mean, right? Unity is all about unification, right? The oneness. There are no others. So anytime you're helping or serving, you're simply serving God. There's no other. That's the true karma yogi. And oftentimes it takes a lifetime to develop that kind of understanding, because we think we're really doing something, that we're the doer of the karma yoga, which is not true. Something else is doing us. So karma yoga is a wonderful path for those busy people, because you can do it in daily life, at work. You can wash the dishes doing karma yoga. Go to work, you're helping out people at work doing karma yoga, except you're not helping the people, you're helping God. Or God is helping God, if you want to say it that way, but it kind of gets confusing. The point is that from your heart, say, I genuinely want to help this universe run smoothly. What can I do to assist? Your whole life could be like that and really grow a lot spiritually. Then the third path, so because I described the path of knowledge or the contemplative, I described the path of service, which is the word for service in Sanskrit is seva. Then the third path, I use the term bhakti yoga, which is all about love, loving God. And we say, well, love people. That's included in that. When you love God, you love all people. So how do you develop love? How do you awaken this? And also, if you went into, so I'm staying at Reverend Ron's house, and in the room that I'm staying in, there's an altar with many deities, and I offer flowers to those deities every day. Thank you. And it's funny because it's very symbolic when you offer flowers to that's love for the deity. And what you're doing is loving yourself. It's true. Loving yourself, because all the deities are within you. All the masters and the saints are within you. So when you make an offering to the picture of the deity, you're offering flowers or gifts to yourself. It's interesting, right? And that just awakens your love, your appreciation. When you appreciate the gods, you appreciate all humans. That love gets invoked into your system, and it just gets kind of projected into the entire universe. The entire universe becomes made of love. It's the substance of this entire reality. God's love shining everywhere. Symbolic of offering the flower of my heart to the deity. I love that path so much. That's for people maybe who are a little bit more emotional. You channel your emotions towards something that's beautiful, offering to your beloved, whoever that might be. Whatever symbolizes the divine for you. So those are the three major paths that I have followed for a long time. And after a while, what happens is the brine dissolves. So the whole purpose of all of this is to dissolve the sense of self, the character that we have made up in this lifetime and so many lifetimes, that has become solidified. So stripping Brian of everything that he is, and that includes facing Brian's fears. Could you imagine leaving your home, leaving everything, and becoming a sort of wandering mendicant, if you want to call it that, a wandering person, right? Having to overcome any fear around that. Facing one's fears, one of the greatest ways to progress spiritually. I can't wait to see people start sitting in the front row. I feel like I'll probably stand up and start clapping for that person, I often am the only one who sits in the front row at churches. I guess there's some timidness around that. But overcoming one's fears, that may seem like a small thing, but so helpful. I love it. Some people will come up to me and say, "Could I sit right there?" Oh, yeah. Love it. The closer, the better. So, I just, again, really wanted to thank Reverend Ron for being open to bringing me in. I hadn't met Reverend Ron, and he immediately was welcoming and very sweet. So, and I appreciate all of you coming to support the Unity Church. It's such a worthwhile cause.